My daughter-in-law wrote her name into my will. Then showed me. She actually smiled when she did it. Smiled. Like she had already won. Like I was already gone. But honey, I am still here. And she had no idea what was coming. My name is Margaret June Holloway. I am 66 years old and I live in Savannah, Georgia, in the same house I have lived in for 31 years. It is a big old house with a white porch and a magnolia tree in the front yard that my late husband Gerald planted the year Dennis was born. This house has seen birthday parties and Thanksgiving dinners and Christmas mornings and the kind of quiet Sunday afternoons that make life feel worth living. This house is my heart. And Tiffany wanted it. She wanted all of it. Every single piece of what Gerald and I spent our whole lives building together. Gerald worked himself to the bone for this house, and I was not about to let anyone take it. I worked as a bookkeeper for a local law firm here in Savannah for 28 years. Sat at that same desk, kept those same books, learned more about legal matters than most people twice my education ever will. I retired 3 years ago, right after my 63rd birthday, because my knees were starting to argue with me every morning and because Gerald had left me enough that I did not need to keep working. I had my savings, my pension, my house, and my garden. I had everything I needed. And I thought I had my family too. Dennis is my only child. I raised that boy by myself after Gerald passed from a heart attack when Dennis was just 19 years old. I worked double hours some weeks just to make sure Dennis had what he needed for college. I skipped vacations. I drove the same car for 11 years. I clipped coupons and cooked from scratch and did everything a mother does when she loves her child more than she loves her own comfort. Dennis graduated, got a good job in insurance, and for a while things were just fine between us. I was proud of him. I still am. Then he met Tiffany. Now I want to be fair because I always try to be fair. When Dennis first brought Tiffany home 4 years ago, I was open. I was warm. I made her my good pot roast and asked her about her family and her work and tried to make her feel welcome. She was pretty and polished and she smiled a lot. I thought it was charm. It took me a little while to understand that the smiling was something else entirely. It was calculation. Every smile was a measurement. She was always measuring. Measuring the house, measuring what I owned, measuring how old I was and how long I might last. They got married 2 years ago. Small wedding, which was fine with me. I paid for a good portion of it because Dennis is my son and I wanted his day to be beautiful. Tiffany wore a dress that cost more than my first car and she looked lovely and I told her so. I gave them a generous check as a wedding gift, not about the amount, but about the fact that I gave it from love, from the same hands that worked 28 years to build something worth giving. Things started shifting almost right away after the wedding. Tiffany started coming over more often, which I thought was nice, until I noticed she was not really coming to see me. She was walking through rooms, looking at furniture, running her hand along the edge of the dining table Gerald and I bought at an estate sale in 1994. She asked me once, very casually, what I planned to do with the house eventually. I told her I planned to live in it. She laughed like I had made a wonderful joke. It did not strike me as funny at all. She started talking about my will about 8 months into the marriage. Not directly at first. She would say things like, "You really should have your affairs in order, Margaret. At your age, you never know." She always framed it as concern. I am a bookkeeper. I spent 28 years reading between lines. I knew exactly what she was doing, but I stayed quiet and watchful because that is what I do. Patience is something I have always had. About 14 months ago, I had a small health scare. Just a blood pressure situation that had me in the hospital overnight. But Tiffany treated it like I had one foot in the grave. She was at that hospital so fast it made my head spin. Holding my hand. Talking to the doctors. Being so very helpful. And somewhere in all that helpfulness, she managed to have a long conversation with Dennis about whether my will was current and whether I had a proper estate plan in place. Dennis mentioned it to me afterward, gently, the way sons do when their wives have told them what to say. I told Dennis my affairs were in order. Which they were. I have a will drawn up with a lawyer I trust, a man named Howard Briggs who has been practicing in Savannah for 40 years, sharp as a tack and honest as the day is long. Maiwa left everything to Dennis, with a portion for my sister Evelyn and a donation to the local library where I volunteered on Thursdays. Standard. Clean. Taken care of. Nobody was touching that will accept me. But here is where things get interesting. And I want you to stay with me because this is the part that still makes my blood pressure do things my doctor would not appreciate. About 6 months ago, Dennis came to me with papers. He said Tiffany had found an estate planning service online, and they had put together updated documents, and all I needed to do was sign. He slid them across my kitchen table like it was nothing. Just paperwork. And I looked at my son, this boy I raised alone, this boy I sacrificed for, and I saw that he genuinely did not know what was in those papers. He had not read them. Tiffany had handled everything and told him it was just a simple update. I took the papers. I told Dennis I would look them over. After he left, I sat at my kitchen table under the good light, and I read every single word carefully. Every clause. Every line. Every word that Tiffany was counting on me not reading. Tiffany had added herself as primary beneficiary. Not joint with Dennis. Primary. Meaning everything would go directly to her and bypass any other arrangement entirely. She had added a clause giving her power of attorney over my financial affairs in the event of my incapacitation, defined so broadly a stubborn cold could have qualified. She had removed my sister Evelyn. She had removed the library donation. And she had added a line about the house specifically, naming it as an asset to be transferred to Tiffany Marie Holloway upon my death, outside of probate, through a mechanism I recognized from my years of bookkeeping as something very hard to contest. I sat there a long time. The magnolia tree outside was doing that thing it does in the evening where the light comes through the leaves and makes everything look peaceful. I did not feel peaceful. I felt something cold and focused settle into my chest, the way it used to when I found a discrepancy in the firm's accounts. Not anger exactly. Not yet. Just clarity. I called Howard Briggs the next morning. Howard looked over the documents and told me they were not legally binding because I had not signed them. He said they were aggressive and frankly suspicious in their construction. He asked if I had any idea who had prepared them. I told him what I knew. He told me to do nothing, say nothing, and come back in 3 days. In those 3 days, I documented everything. Every account, every asset, every piece of property. I went back through 14 months of small moments and wrote them down in a notebook with dates and details and exactly what was said. I have always kept good records. Gerald used to say, "Margaret, you could reconstruct this entire marriage from your filing cabinet." He was not wrong. When I went back, Howard told me the estate planning service Tiffany used was real but barely. Registered 18 months ago. Thin credentials. The kind of outfit someone hires when they need documents that look official, but are written by someone counting on the other person, not reading carefully. He said he had seen this before. Not often, but enough to know exactly what it was. Howard made sure my actual will was airtight, updated, witnessed, notarized, and locked in his safe that same day. New will. Clear. Legal. Solid. Dennis still inherits, but with protections built in so the assets stay with him and his bloodline, not with a spouse who could walk away with everything Gerald and I built. The new will excluded Tiffany from any power of attorney role. Howard recommended a professional fiduciary instead, someone with legal accountability she could not charm or pressure. I agreed without hesitation. 3 weeks after I had quietly handled everything with Howard, Tiffany came over for Sunday dinner. Dennis was there too. We sat at Gerald's dining table and had a perfectly normal meal. Then after dinner, when Dennis went to get more sweet tea, Tiffany leaned across the table and slid a copy of those documents toward me. The ones I had never signed. She said, "I just wanted to make sure you still had these, Margaret. You should really get those signed soon." And she smiled. That smile. Like she had already won. I looked at her for one moment. Then I said, "Oh, Tiffany, I appreciate you thinking of me. I have actually already updated everything with Howard Briggs. All taken care of." She blinked. Just once. Fast. Then the smile came back, but it was tighter now. I said, "You know I spent 28 years as a bookkeeper for a law firm. Did Dennis ever mention that? I have always been very particular about paperwork." She said nothing. I said, "Howard sends his regards. He remembered you had called his office asking about my existing will. He thought that was interesting." She went very still. Dennis came back with the sweet tea and noticed nothing. We finished the evening pleasantly enough on the surface. Tiffany was quiet. She helped clear the table, which she did not usually do. She smiled at me twice before they left, and both times it did not reach her eyes. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. Over the next few weeks, I started noticing things missing. A ceramic dish from the kitchen counter that had belonged to my mother. A silver picture frame from the hallway table. I am a woman who knows exactly what is in her house, always have been. I started taking dated photographs of every room and every shelf, time-stamped on my phone. Then one afternoon, I came home from my Thursday library shift and found Tiffany inside my house. She had a key Dennis had given her months ago that I never took back. She was in my bedroom, standing at my jewelry box. She said she had stopped by to check on me and had knocked and knocked. She held up a casserole dish like it explained everything. I looked at her standing there with my jewelry box open, and I felt the calm before a very specific kind of storm. I thanked her for the casserole. I walked her out. I changed my locks that same afternoon. Then I cataloged my jewelry against a list made 5 years ago for insurance. 3 pieces were missing. A pearl bracelet from my grandmother. A gold brooch with a small emerald that Gerald gave me on our 20th anniversary. And diamond stud earrings Dennis had saved up and given me for my 60th birthday. I called Howard Briggs, my insurance company, and filed a police report. The officer was Corporal Danielle Webb, thorough and kind. She took my photographs, my inventory, my documentation, and my full statement. She told me I had done everything right. Dennis heard about the report from Tiffany first. She told him I was confused and had misplaced the jewelry and was blaming her out of resentment. She cried. She is very good at crying. I told Dennis to come over, just him. When he sat down, I did not raise my voice or cry or ask him to choose. I showed him everything. Every photograph, every dated note, the documents Tiffany prepared that I never signed, the police report, and the inventory with the missing items circled. Dennis did not speak for a long time. When he finally looked up, his eyes were red and he said, "Mom, I did not know." And I believe him. But I told him gently that not knowing is not the same as not responsible, and that his wife had been inside my house without permission standing at my jewelry box, and that this was a police matter regardless of what happened between them. Corporal Webb did her job well. Tiffany had sold the pearl bracelet to a consignment shop 2 towns over, and the shop had records. The brooch turned up similarly. The earrings were still in a zippered pouch in her closet when Corporal Webb followed up. The kind of decision that only makes sense if you believe you are completely safe. She was charged. The case was not dismissed. Dennis filed for divorce within the month. His decision, not mine. I told him I would be here either way. He moved back into his old room for a while, the one with the baseball trophies on the shelf, and some mornings I would come downstairs, and he would be at the kitchen table with coffee, and we would sit together the way we used to when the world felt manageable. Those quiet mornings meant more to me than I can say. In the end, Tiffany pleaded and accepted restitution, probation, and a record that will follow her a very long time. The pearl bracelet came back to me. The brooch did not survive the resale chain, but insurance covered it, and I put that money toward having the magnolia tree professionally trimmed because Gerald always meant to do it and never got around to it. My actual will remains exactly as I intend. Dennis inherits. Evelyn gets her portion. The library gets its donation. Everything is as it should be. Dennis has his own apartment now, not far from me, and comes for Sunday dinner most weeks. He still has a key to my house. I gave it back to him myself on a new keychain after the locks were changed. Some things you take back and some things you give again on purpose. That is a choice only you can make. I still sit on my white porch in the evenings when the weather is good. The magnolia tree looks better than it has in years. I drink my sweet tea and I watch the neighborhood, and I think about Gerald, and I think about all of it, and how 28 years of reading other people's numbers taught me to read other things too. Life has a way of teaching you what you need to know. Tiffany thought I was just a 66-year-old grandmother in a big old house in Savannah with knees that hurt and a will worth taking. She was only right about two of those things. There are people in your life who see your age and your softness and your love for your family and mistake those things for weakness. They are wrong. Softness is not weakness. Love is not blindness. And a woman who spent 28 years keeping books knows exactly where every number is and what it means and what happens when one goes missing. She lost everything she came for. The jewelry. The marriage. The record she thought she would never have. The future she had carefully planned on the back of what Gerald and I built together over a lifetime. All of it gone, because she smiled at the wrong grandmother. I am Margaret June Holloway. I am 66 years old. And I am still very much here today. Tell me where you are from, and go ahead and drop your city in the comments below. And if you love your grandma the way I loved mine, give this a like, subscribe, and share it with all your friends, because she truly deserves to know.